All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are taking on something that honestly strikes fear into the hearts of professionals everywhere, and that is formatting a formal technical report. But don't worry, instead of getting bogged down in dry formatting rules, we're going to treat this just like a major architectural project. We're going to build your understanding from the foundation all the way up to the roof. I mean, have you ever just sat there staring blankly at a massive 50-page report, completely overwhelmed and wondering where to even begin? I know I have. You've got all this research, pages of facts, and just this giant blank document staring right back at you. It is incredibly daunting to figure out how to structure all that data so it actually makes sense to whoever is reading it. Okay, let's dive into this and look at our structured solution. Now, just like a solid report needs a good table of contents to orient the reader, this explainer uses a roadmap. Today we'll be covering defining the report, planning and designing, essential front matter, structuring the body, comparing your options, and finally, conclusions and recommendations. Let's get to it. First up, Section 1, defining the report. Think of this as the zoning laws of report writing. So what exactly is a technical report? Basically, it belongs to this loosely defined group of documents that examine a situation, evaluate the evidence, and, here's the most important part, render a carefully studied opinion or judgment. That last bit is absolutely crucial. These documents have to do so much more than just present a bunch of random facts. They actually have to render judgments based on data. They have an active job to do. And while things definitely overlap in the real world, there are essentially three main types of these reports. First, you've got the feasibility report. This one just asks a simple question: should we implement Plan X? And the answer is usually yes, no, or maybe. Second is the recommendation report. This looks at a selection of choices and asks, okay, which option should we actually choose? And third, the evaluation report. This one looks backward and asks, was this project or item worthwhile based on its original requirements? All right, Section 2, planning and designing. It is time to draft your architectural blueprints. Before you lay a single brick or write a single word, you need a pre-writing strategy. It's a quick 4-step process. Step 1, analyze your audience. What's their technical background? Step 2, define the situation or the problem you're solving. Step 3, choose the deliverable type. Is this feasibility, recommendation, or evaluation? And step 4, identify your available options and the specific criteria you'll use to judge them. Notice the logic here? You absolutely must define who is reading this thing before you even bother figuring out the options you're presenting to them. Now, once you know your audience, you can pick your organizational plan. The traditional plan builds the background and criteria first, moves through the options, and saves the final conclusions for the very end. But check out the executive plan. This layout takes the conclusions and recommendations and shoves them right to the very front of the report. It tosses all that dense background and comparison data into the appendices. I mean, this is a massive aha moment for a lot of people. A technical report is not a mystery novel. You really don't need to save the whodunit for the final page, especially if your audience is a busy executive who literally just needs the bottom line right now. Moving right along to Section 3, essential front matter. This is where we lay the concrete foundation. A huge part of this foundation is the abstract. Now, people constantly confuse descriptive and informative abstracts, but looking at a simple grammar software example brilliantly illustrates the difference. The descriptive abstract is basically a movie teaser. This report provides conclusions on grammar-checking software. See? It tells you what the report is about, but gives away absolutely zero facts. The informative abstract, on the other hand, is the spoiler. It takes a yellow highlighter to the whole document and vacuums up the key facts. Based on an exhaustive review, none of the available grammar software provides a useful function. Bam! It gives you the actual conclusion right there. And then we have the executive summary. This is a bit of a hybrid. Think of it as the busy CEO's elevator pitch, written specifically for readers focused on business decisions. It gives the conclusions and recommendations, but completely skips the deep background theory and the research methodology. It is specifically designed for decision makers who just do not have the time to get stuck in the dense technical weeds. Okay, Section 4, structuring the body. We are finally constructing the floors of our building.
Naturally, it starts with the introduction, but I need to give you a major warning here. An introduction is not just a massive background jump. It's a highly structured orientation. You need to establish the specific topic early on, explain the purpose and the situation, identify the required technical knowledge of the audience, provide a quick overview of the contents, and only then offer some brief background context. Remember, the introduction exists to orient the reader, not to drown them in history.
Now, let's see how this builds into your next crucial step, defining your decision-making criteria. Basically, these are the specific features or values you're using to judge your options. If you're recommending a new tablet for the team, your criteria are things like cost, RAM, or battery life. Or, to use a really fun example from the source material, imagine you're evaluating chocolate truffles. Your criteria might be the specific flavor profile. Are we talking milk chocolate, dark, bitter, spicy? The point is, you have to clearly define exactly how you are measuring success before you can declare any sort of winner.
Which brings us to Section 5, comparing your options. These are the load-bearing walls of your report. Built wrong, and the whole argument collapses.
So the crucial point here is exactly how you organize this comparison. Whatever you do, do not just make a lazy list of pros and cons. You generally have two choices. The whole-to-whole approach discusses literally everything about option A and then everything about option B. Honestly, this is incredibly clunky for the reader to follow. The vastly superior method is the point-by-point approach. You discuss cost for options A, B, and C. Then you discuss functions for options A, B, and C. It's so much better because it lets the reader see the options go head-to-head on very specific battlegrounds.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how we bring all that comparison data together at the end. After your paragraphs of point-by-point comparisons, you really need a summary table. Think about how instantly digestible this is. Instead of forcing the reader to hunt back through paragraphs to remember who had the better sports channels, it's just right there in front of them. Boom! XM gets a 4, Sirius gets a 2.5. A summary table takes all that granular data and makes it instantly visual and completely logical.
And finally, Section 6, Conclusions and Recommendations. It is time to put the roof on this project.
Now, a report can actually end in a few distinct ways. It's really not just about repeating the introduction word for word. You can use summaries to review the high points, which is fantastic for those really long, complex reports. You could use true conclusions, where you logically resolve conflicting theories or finally declare that ultimate winner among your options. You can use an afterword, where you broaden the focus to discuss future trends or big-picture implications of the technology. Or, as is probably the most common, you can just use a combination of all three to wrap things up effectively.
But listen, if you are writing a recommendation report, you have got to heed this advice. The recommendation section should echo the most important conclusions leading to the recommendation, and then state the recommendation emphatically. You literally cannot be wishy-washy here. You've done the research, you've built the foundation, the walls, and the roof. Leave absolutely no ambiguity for the decision maker. State your final recommendation with total, absolute confidence.
Which brings us to the end of our build today. So think about the very next time you're asked to draft a formal report. Who exactly is your specific audience? Are they a super busy executive who needs the spoiler right up front? Or are they a technician who needs that traditional step-by-step chronological build? And which blueprint are you going to use to construct their understanding? The tools are right here in front of you. It's time to start drafting. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and happy building.